have orange iPhones.
Carrot orange to be specific.
We actually have both. We have the 17 Pro Max and we have the 17 Pro. And they're orange.
Very orange.
They're very good.
Way more
orange.
than I thought when they announced it. I think the pictures didn't do justice how bright these things are.
Mine's already scuffed.
Let's get started with the review. Now, it is that year where Apple changes a design. You know, you have that one year that they keep the design, but they change everything internally. And you have the other type of launch where they changed the outside, but sometimes the inside. And in this case, it was a little bit of both. We have a new redesigned iPhone 17 Pro and Pro Max design with some interesting choices when it comes to the materials and the overall external shell. Is shell too fragile?
Unibody?
Or is fragile enough?
It's fragile.
Of this phone. You've probably seen the pictures, you've seen the videos where they got rid of the single camera piece of glass module that was in one of the corners, and they kind of extended it to the whole top of the phone where the flash is on one end, the cameras are on the other end. But what people talk about is how Apple's Pro line of phones this year switched not up, but down from titanium, the spaceship level metal that they used on the iPhones last year, back to aluminum. The least of the three materials they use for phones in general. We've had stainless steel, we've had aluminum, and we've had titanium. And now the Pro models, the most expensive phones they offer, have the cheapest one of them all. I have some personal thoughts onto that. I think there's benefits that we can talk about later of why they probably switched over to the unibody aluminum enclosure. But we did have an incident with our Pro Max model where it suffered an accident.
Yeah, not a drop, mind you. It just bumped into something slightly abrasive, like coming out of my pocket. It bumped into something. And yeah, took a small little piece out of the aluminum. The paint went with it as well.
I think it's very interesting how out of the both of us, you're the one that takes care of your phones like they're humans.
Yes. And I'm glad you mentioned that, because I was just going to talk about how I baby my phones.
Right.
I have probably throughout my life, especially because of this YouTube channel, used dozens of phones.
Oh yeah, easy.
And I think I've had one incident where I've broken a display once.
Right.
Out of it has to be well over 50 phones that I've owned, right?
And yet
my 15 Pro Max, my 16 Pro Max, my 14 Pro Max, 13s all looked pristine. Like absolutely
after
flawless.
the whole year of you using them.
A whole year
yeah.
of
No
me
case.
using them. No case.
By the way, yes.
No case.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm on team no case. I like to feel how a smartphone is engineered to feel, right?
Amen.
With no case,
Mm-hmm.
right? This is the first time, and I want to say, when was the iPhone 7 a thing?
Oh, 2017? Yeah, 2017. That was
I haven't had an iPhone with scuffed color since the iPhone 7.
Right.
And I have one now, again.
Yeah. Congrats. Thing is, I'm the one out of the two that usually is a little more, what word would you say? A little
reckless. Reckless.
Adventurous with my phones.
Right.
Just because I do like them. I love my piece of tech, but I also, if it breaks, I got Apple Care. I'll just fix it, whatever. But so far, knock on wood, my phone is still intact.
It'll probably be scuffed by the end of the review.
It probably will.
Yeah.
And you know what? It is what it is. Ultimately, Apple made the decision to switch from a super durable piece of metal to now a more fragile piece of metal. Now, they talk about how more durable it is because of the new ceramic shield that this phone has, but that only covers the front and part of the back.
Yep.
Everything else on your phone, which is the majority of your phone, it's still aluminum, which we're not ones to encourage you to get a case, but this would be the phone that you might think about it, just in case you don't want to have scratches, the paint coming off, or if anything, just get the silver phone and you won't see the scratches because they're the same color.
Yeah.
But there's that when it comes to the new design and the new material choices that Apple made. Now, we did mention how there's an improvement on the enclosure, especially when it comes to the ceramic glass, which is way more resistant than the previous version of the glass. But
for scratches, yeah.
That's what they say.
Yeah.
We're not gonna put it. We're not gonna put it to the test.
Yeah.
But the display on the inside did get an improvement. Maybe not a lot because the resolution is really good. It also is a ProMotion, which means 120 hertz.
That's all standard. Yeah, that's standard for the Pro models.
It's
And
not
as far as
new.
dimensions go, I don't think that the dimensions change either, right? 6.3 and 6.9.
Right.
Yeah. But where you're going to see a difference is in brightness, which I
And
think
it's
is always welcome.
very
So
good.
16 Pro, 2000 nits peak max brightness.
From last year. Yep.
That was 16 Pro.
Yep.
17 Pro, 3000 nits peak max brightness. Very noticeable.
I think I remember them talking about that number being such a good accomplishment when it comes to the Apple Watch Ultra, but now that's on your phone, which I think is dope.
Yeah. Internally, the 17 Pro line got a slew of upgrades too.
Very welcomed.
Yeah, which actually makes me wonder a little bit just from a future perspective because Apple doesn't typically go this in on like their internal hardware upgrades.
I think you're right, because I think if you were to look back 3-4 years ago, you always have your Android phones that have so many upgrades in their internal systems, and they talk about numbers so much
Yeah.
because Apple optimizes software. And Apple's never focused so much on the numbers just because they're like, there's no need, right? But this year is different.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're looking at a A19 Pro
Mm-hmm.
internally, right? Still a 3 nanometer process.
Crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, but still it's tough because Apple doesn't really let you compare like the 17 Pro versus the 16 Pro whenever it
Right.
comes to performance numbers. So it makes me feel like the jump is marginal, but that doesn't really mean too much because last year's 16 Pro was a top performer anyways.
And they'll talk about like very specific things that are better,
Yeah.
but not an overall view.
They always use
Yeah.
video playback as a measure for their battery life too, but that's I mean,
They're watching like
It's-
240p videos. Yeah.
yeah, performance on 17 Pro is absolutely fantastic. And then there's other bumps too. So 16 Pro last year had 8 gigs of RAM. 17 Pro this year has 12. So we saw a 50% bump in RAM.
That's wild.
Yeah, which we don't see very often from Apple at all in terms of RAM
and
bumps.
that's what I was saying, because software has always been so optimized that there was no need for more RAM.
Yeah, that's the part. That's one of the bigger parts that makes me wonder about like what's coming in the future. There has to be something else coming in the future to utilize 4 extra gigs of RAM.
It ain't Siri.
Yeah, yeah, that would require
Or at least not right
4
now.
less gigs of RAM if we're
Yeah.
just talking about Siri.
Yeah.
And then a vapor chamber for added cooling in the phone, which again is so not Apple.
It's very, very like ultra powerful things, you know?
Yeah.
Like it's
Yeah.
like people that upgrade their PCs and they have the most coolest features.
Or we've seen
Yeah.
Android smartphone, like flagship Android smartphones, talk about vapor chambers for cooling and stuff
Right.
like that too, right? So it's very unlike Apple, but you get all of those things on top of the fact that the phone does sport that aluminum unibody design, which
Right.
aluminum is going to be a little bit better than titanium at dissipating heat,
Right.
right? So Apple did a lot. And on top of that, you got bigger batteries for both Pro size models.
I'm so happy.
Because he likes the entry level Pro, the smaller one, the 6.3-inch display. That one saw the biggest battery bump between the two Pros.
Yeah.
Nearly like 700 milliamp hours, especially if you have the eSIM version, which is the standard here in the US.
Right.
And then I think the Pro Max got like a 400 milliamp hour bump to like just shy of 5,100. So the Pro Max has officially met the battery benchmark of 5,000 milliamp
The
hours.
standard.
Finally, the standard.
Mm-hmm.
And the Pro 700, near 700 milliamp hour
It's
bump.
close to the size of the battery of last year's Pro Max.
Yeah, which is insane.
That I'll take that any day.
Yeah, which is absolutely insane. And I'm sure that comes down to, we haven't obviously seen the schematics internally, but I know that Apple's done a lot of internal rearrangements,
Right.
especially whenever they were talking about the Air and how a lot of the components of the Air actually fits up in the camera module.
Right. I wouldn't be surprised
Including
if
the
they do
logic
something
board.
like that in here.
Yeah, I'm sure they
Yeah.
did a lot of that same stuff too. And then of course, like it retains all the really, really good stuff too. Like because there's a glass panel on the back, you still retain MagSafe.
Right.
You still retain wireless charging. Of course, you have the IP68 water and dust resistance rating,
Right.
like all that really cool stuff.
Yep.
But there's a lot going on internally.
And I'm all here for it.
Yeah.
I think it was a very good upgrade internally, that it doesn't feel like it's just barely better. It actually felt like a big jump, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I'm more than okay with it.
And I feel like with the way that Apple spec this thing out, I mean, it's more than ready for.
And it's not iOS 26, because iOS 26 was a big jump visually, but it didn't change much of the AI features
Nope.
that were presented last year for
Yep.
25. So I don't know. Or iOS 16? They keep changing names. I can't even remember.
26. iOS
Last
26.
year's
18.
18,
Yeah,
iOS
yeah.
18.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
right.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Normally with Android OEMs, we see them add 4 gigs of RAM, 8 gigs of RAM year over year,
Oh, that all the
right?
time.
But especially now with the advancement in AI that a lot of these phones sport too, there's not a lot new here from an AI perspective, but there is 50% more RAM. Something is coming. We just don't know what it is. You heard it here first.
But of course, the cameras are going to get the spotlight because Apple has always presented the new camera systems as if there's something revolutionary and out of this world. And in this phone, it's no different. But to be fair, there's some really cool things that I'm excited about with this phone because last year, the camera upgrade that we got was a button that I still don't find useful on the side of your phone to use it as a
It's
camera
not.
shutter.
Yeah.
This year, we have a triple 48 megapixel Fusion camera system. Now, Fusion is really interesting because it's all marketing. It basically means that you can do two things with each lens. You have a Fusion 48 megapixel wide, which is a 48 megapixel in one mode, 24 megapixel two times in a different mode. You have your 0.5 48 megapixel that also does macro pictures, so those are two modes, and the new lens that is 20 or 48 megapixel four times telephoto and 8 times at a 12 megapixel crop. Now I see a lot of people hate on the fact that the 8 times is a downgrade, and this is the math that doesn't make sense in my head. They talk about it in a way of saying that the 5 times from last year was better than the 4 times that we have this year, but the 5 times that we had last year was only 12 megapixels starting. This is a 4 times 48 megapixel with a 8 times zoom, optical like, because it crops your image. It doesn't digitally zoom it crops the image that you're taking already. So it is pretty good. And if anything, Apple does a really good job when it comes to their features and the settings that you can tweak when it comes to taking pictures. And on top of that, the selfie camera got a huge upgrade. I think that's the biggest one, which even if me, that I'm not a big selfie taker, the center stage camera that's on the front of the phone is now 18 megapixels, which almost feels like a back camera now on the front of your phone. It has a square lens that is able to take more area of your surroundings. So if you want to take a picture, your phone, hold it vertically, you can take a horizontal landscape picture without having to rotate your phone, which is great for selfies if you want to take it in a group. It's also pretty good with selfie or FaceTime calls when you have to move the phone farther away and you want to get a bigger angle. So ultimately, it's really good. And on top of that, video has always been Apple's field where they dominated the market, and this year is no different with the new action mode and dual capture where you can take a video with the back camera and the selfie camera now at the same time. There's a lot. I'm running out of breath. But ultimately, this year's camera system is a big welcomed upgrade that I feel like I haven't said this on an iPhone's upgrade in a while because it's always felt like just a baby step. But this year, it was big enough for me to say that I'm really glad that I have this phone.
Yeah. I, on the other hand, am a very simple man. Whenever I get a smartphone, I just need to point and shoot, and it needs to be good.
Does it do that?
Yes, it does it very, very well, I have to say, right? And like, I don't go out very often. I love taking pictures of my dogs and stuff like that. Fantastic photos and videos.
I think Apple really did a good job on this one.
They did. That is the 17 Pro.
17 Pro it is.
Yeah, I mean, there's of course iOS 26. That's not exclusive to the 17 Pro.
But
It's a little buggy still.
oh, dude,
Yeah.
it's so bad.
I'm well, like there's.
I was just hoping that it was the beta. It's not.
Yeah, I mean,
It has so many issues with it.
yeah, there's a ton going on as far as visual redesign. I love the call filtering, the spam
Oh,
filtering.
that is amazing.
Yeah,
Very
that's
good
essentially taking away all spam calls that I receive in a day. So that part is great. But again, not exclusive to the phone. iOS 26 definitely still needs some time to cook.
Right.
It's a little glitchy, it's a little buggy. Like you'll definitely encounter it if you're on the new software or if you buy the new phone that's going to come with the new software.
Yeah.
But let's talk about colors and pricing.
Let's do it.
All right. So Apple is really clever this year with their pricing model. They didn't
Dude,
technically raise the price of the phone. I'm not a fan of this, by the way.
I know. It kind of bugged me because for a second I saw them say it starts at 256 gigabytes. And I'm
Yep.
like, that's amazing.
Yep. Yeah, but that means that the cheaper 128 option is no longer available,
Right.
which I'm not going to lie to you, I don't like 128 anyways.
Right. That's fair.
But what I would have liked to see Apple do is 256 that started at last year's 128 price.
That would have been best case scenario.
That would have been best case scenario, but it's not what happened. So, in order to not raise the cost of the iPhones, I guess Apple just eliminated the 128 gigabyte option. You now start at 256.
Yay.
So if you bought last year's model at 128 and you want to upgrade, you got to pay more. If you bought the cheapest option.
You're forced to upgrade the storage.
Yeah. If you bought any of the other options, you shouldn't be paying anymore.
Mm-hmm.
The iPhone 17 Pro starts at $1,099, and the 17 Pro Max starts at $1,199,
Right.
which can get spec'd out all the way up to a 2 terabyte option. Who needs 2 terabytes of storage on a phone?
I honestly, if you do, let me know because I want to see what you're doing with your
You have a
phone.
problem if you need 2 terabytes.
You're playing a lot of Candy Crush in there.
Yeah.
Let me see that phone.
Yeah, the 2 terabyte phone I think specs out at like 19, is like 19
Before tax.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah,
literally
yeah.
just shy of $2,000
Yeah, that's
before
wild.
tax. Absolutely wild. And you know what? You know why that scares me? Because it doesn't even fold.
Oh, it just went until next year.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
which we know Apple's bringing a foldable phone, and if
Right.
their 2 terabyte Pro Max can get up to $2,000 for storage, okay, which Apple is vastly overcharging on storage. Don't get me started on that. But
yeah.
if Apple can charge you $2,000 for a 2 terabyte iPhone that doesn't fold, made out of aluminum. Oh, they're absolutely going to take everybody to the bank whenever they bring out their foldable phone.
But we'll see. We'll see. That's next.
It's going to happen. You heard it here first. Anyways, there's a lot of you heard it here first in the last few videos.
Start writing it down.
Yeah. But as far as the colors go, cosmic orange,
Like stuff in space, I guess.
right?
Is there orange in space?
Maybe.
Out there somewhere.
There was titanium in space, but they took it away. Don't get me started on it.
spaceships.
There's deep blue,
Like the oceans.
which deep blue I've seen is the most prone to scratching.
Oh, because of the contrast.
Right. And I
Easy.
feel like
Yep.
that's probably why there's not a black Pro iPhone.
They knew what they were doing.
They knew. And like that's the thing that has been driving me nuts this year too, because we always see a lot of people complain about the Pro model iPhones look boring color-wise, get a little
Right.
experimental. Then they get experimental with this way out there. And a lot of people don't like it. And they're like, yo, where's my neutral option? Your neutral option is silver and deep blue. Complained that there weren't enough colors. Now they have the colors. And guess what? They're not even durable.
You're never going to please everyone. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then silver.
What's in between clouds?
Clouds. Like
Like
the
the
clouds in
clouds.
between space and the ocean.
Yep.
Yeah. Silver is going to be your most neutral, safest bet, even if you scratch
Oh,
it.
it scratches. That's
Yeah,
the only thing.
and
That's the
dink
only
it.
reason. It actually does look really clean.
It
And
does.
It's probably the most elegant one out of the three.
It is.
But it's also the most basic one.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So if you want to take the safe bet, you buy the silver one. But that just about does it for the 17 Pro line. We got a lot of other stuff coming. This is literally the Ultra Series 3 on my wrist. He's got what number?
11.
Okay. He's got Series 11 watch now.
Yep.
And we both also have AirPods Pro 3 in addition to all the Pro lines for the Google Pixel stuff. We
That's
got a lot
right.
of stuff coming. So if you're new, consider subscribing. Thank you
Stay
so much
tuned.
for watching. Please buy yourself a case if you invest in this. Don't be like me. And we will catch you in the next. Okay, I'm done.
On to the next one.